What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so this is the situation. We have some breaking news for you. Tropical Storm Bonnie, after being a potential tropical cyclone 2 for several days, has now developed just off about 200 miles off the coast of Nicaragua, and is currently, as you can see, it is still organizing. It's potentially going to intensify. The NHC is expecting this to make landfall as between a 50 and 60 mile per hour tropical storm. So we're going to go ahead and get through all of this right now. So this is the situation. This is the latest right here. The hurricane watch has been discontinued because Bonnie formed about 9 hours before it's expected to make landfall. So a hurricane is no longer anticipated in Nicaragua. However, a huge flooding threat is. In fact, if we take a look at the rainfall, Nicaragua and Costa Rica, 4 to 8 inches, localized 12 inches. This rainfall is expected to result in, quote, life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides. Just because it's not a hurricane doesn't mean it's not a threat, and that right here proves it. And this is why I've been covering it, because there's a significant flood threat. Remember, we saw flooding in Grenada. We saw flooding in Tobago. We saw a little bit of flooding in the ABC Islands. So we need to pay very close attention to this and also take a look at the cone. So it is expected to make landfall later this evening near the border of Nicaragua and Costa Rica, and then it's expected to emerge off the coast of Nicaragua, the western coast, that is, and it is expected to retain tropical storm intensity, reorganize, and then eventually become a hurricane by Tuesday. Although the good news with this one is that this is going to stay out to sea, so I want everyone to understand that. But yeah, that does not negate the flooding threat that's going to be going on in Nicaragua and Costa Rica right now. So if you're in those two countries, you need to pay attention. You need to start taking shelter right now. The tropical storm force winds are expected to arrive later this afternoon, and this is going to be going on for potentially several hours. We can take a look at this. Looks so much better than it did yesterday. Let's actually go back to 150 frames just to show you what I'm talking about, because this is where we were yesterday right here, and it started to kind of develop a little bit, and you can see it's trying right here, but it's not really quite there. But then this complex of storms right there, it's not giving up. It starts blowing up, and as you can see, these minus 70, minus 80 cloud tops just are widespread right here, and then eventually this thing gets upgraded, and you can see there is clear rotation with this right here. That's why the NHC finally designated this a tropical storm. It was starting to develop earlier this morning. It was really starting to develop at that point, and then boom, they went for it. So yeah, that's basically what we're looking at. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tracks and the intensity. The tracks, they're all in agreement. It's expected to make landfall near the Nicaragua-Costa Rica border, and then it's going to pass through. It's going to pass through in less than 12 hours through the country, and then it's going to move into the Pacific and start organizing and developing there and intensifying there. Now, if we take a look at that, we have the intensity. It's not expected to get much stronger at that point, but yeah, we could potentially see up to a 45 knot or 55 mile per hour tropical storm by the time it makes landfall in the next 9 hours. But at that point, unless it really rapidly intensifies, it's probably going to make landfall, in my estimation, around a 50 to 60 mile per hour tropical storm. So that's what we're looking at. The thing I'm paying attention to after it makes landfall is what happens afterward. How strong does it get once it reaches the warm waters of the Pacific? Now, if we take a look at this and go to the Pacific Ocean right here, actually, we can even do this right here, because if you take a look at this right here, we're looking at 28, 27 degrees Celsius water. That's 82, 83, 84 degree Fahrenheit water right there. And if we take a look at the wind shear with this right here, just update that. Yeah, you can see clearly right here that there is no wind shear to speak of on the other side of Nicaragua. So if this thing stays together and just basically doesn't get impacted that much, then it's, at this point, the way I see this is that this thing could develop really fast into a hurricane, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but it could, has that potential. The NHC agrees with that right here. So we'll have to pay attention to see what happens in the next few days. The next 12 hours are crucial for this thing's development. because I'm going to say this right now. Once this thing crosses into the Pacific Ocean, it's going to have another name. It's going to have it's going to be the next D-name storm. I forgot what that was, so I do apologize for that. I will put that in the description below. But that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the modeling and see what happens in the next few days. The GFS has this thing going on. The GFS says this is making landfall as a tropical storm with winds around 50 miles per hour. Actually, has it making landfall in Costa Rica, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't even get affected that much. And then it starts to round up and develop again, starts intensifying into a hurricane off the coast of Guatemala and Mexico. And then it kind of weakens down a bit and kind of stagnates, develops again as it's in that warmer water. And the GFS is... lowest pressures down to 968 millibars in the Pacific Ocean, and then it starts dropping down and basically dissipating as it moves through those colder waters. With that being said, let's go ahead and use the HMON right here. Let's go to the HMON. The HMON, we're at that tropical storm, but the HMON is really going very aggressive with this. It's having this thing rapidly organize, rapidly intensify into a strong tropical storm or a weak hurricane. They're having it making landfall as a strong tropical storm just north of the Costa Rica-Nicaragua border. It's not going to really affect it that much, and as that thing starts to move across Nicaragua into the sea, it starts to develop and organize, becoming a hurricane just off the coast of Nicaragua and El Salvador right here, and then intensifying. It actually moves somewhat close to Guatemala and Mexico if the HMON is the correct one. If we take a look at the cone right here, there is that possibility that it moves kind of close to it, and there might be some rain and a little bit of wind on the western coast of Mexico right here, southern coast of Mexico. But it's extremely improbable that a landfall is going to take place there. So guys in Mexico might be getting the outer bands, but that's pretty much it. The HMON continues to do this. It continues to intensify. It bottoms out at 981 millibars before it slows down and stagnates, and then it becomes a tropical storm, and that's basically where we are right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the HWRF right here, because this is a very interesting case study right here. This has been a very aggressive model right here, and this is the HWRF. You can see it basically just rapidly intensifies into a Category 1 hurricane, which at this point I don't think is going to happen unless this thing actually is really extremely organized, really tightly bound. That pressure gradient force is just perfect for this thing to rapidly intensify, because I don't think I've ever seen a tropical storm rapidly intensify and make landfall as a hurricane in 9 hours, but I think that's happened before. I'll have to look at some case studies to just to see that, but this thing, according to the HWRF, which is a very aggressive model, once again, has it making landfall on the Nicaragua-Costa Rica border as a Category 1 hurricane, and then it just emerges as a strong tropical storm, continues to develop, and then intensify, and basically this thing will actually bottom out lower than the GFS, actually, down to 966 millibars right here off the coast of Mexico. Then it kind of starts weakening, and then it basically moves off into the cooler waters. So that's the situation we have right here. We are looking at an imminent landfall from Tropical Storm Bonnie. It is expected to move through Nicaragua in 12 hours or less, and then move into the Pacific Ocean and start intensifying again. But with that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps me out, helps me make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. We are now over 1,200 subscribers, so be sure to hit the red subscribe button and become a weather enthusiast. But with that being said, guys, have a wonderful day. Stay safe.